What's up, YouTube? So this is what I've learned from 2 days of doing VOD reviews so far. So this is just a list I've written down because after every VOD review, I write down things that I learned from that specific VOD review. There's probably a bunch of things I'm missing, but I try not to write down the super obvious things like trade patterns and whatnot. These are probably pretty obvious, but this was just me rambling and writing things down. Number one, respect the jungle and perma-track him. Because, like, track what side of the map is on. Because this is where I learned is, like, we saw jungler top side, and then, like, a minute later, he was still top side, but that's because his camps were spawning top side. And I wasn't aware. I took a bad fight. I ended up dying. Second thing. Vision mid to late game is extremely important and can be game winning. We were able to surprise engage, make a pretty crazy play because they didn't notice they were unprepared. We were able to get off all of our damage while they were still unprepared, and we won the game from that basically. Third thing, giving up minions to be in a fight early game is just not good, even if it's a winning fight, because then your lane is losing. I managed to come back from it when last game, or the game that this came from, but that's because my team played good. If my team played good and wasn't able to use the advantage I gave them by giving up my minions, it would have been grief and my lane would have been over. So, it's flip flip. Play extremely aggressive on timers where you know you can win. Specifically, ult cooldowns, summoner cooldowns, rune cooldowns, even maybe. Like, you just gotta really, really be decisive with the play you make, especially in lane. Probably mid to late game too, but the example this came from was specifically in lane. So yeah. Respect enemy win com and play accordingly. This is just also pretty obvious, but I fucked up. I made a mistake in the game, and I had to write this down because I made that specific mistake. It's like respecting dive comps is the reason why. Like you can't take a bad trade if their jungler is like a dive jungler, because then if you're like even if their enemy is like 20% HP, if the jungler comes full HP and just dives you while you're also 20% HP, you trolled. Because if you were to like 60% HP, they can't really dive you anymore. Next thing, realize the win con and build play accordingly. This came from an example where I was the win condition, but I was playing kind of like supportive because my team got an early lead. I trusted them to carry, so I decided to like go tanky to help my team carry to like facilitate my team more. But then they just did nothing with it, and we trolled and we lost. But if I just went full damage and played like the carry the entire game, I would have just carried the game. But I was playing like a tank, which my champ was. Specific. As more when no engage on this is like champion specific thing, but I think this is important because specifically in this game, not this game, where we have no dedicated playmaker because we have really no good engage. Probably should just dodge just to be honest when we see this fucking allow we support shit. Yeah, this is dodge games where there's no engage or dedicated playmaker and teams toxic and pre-select. This is just obvious to some people. I hardly ever dodge, and I think I should just realize that I can dodge games where it's like I'm just not comfortable with or something like that. If it's like pretty even team comp, just never dodge. But where it's just one sided and your team has to make miracles happen to make that comp work, it's just not gonna work out. Never overset your tempo when the chance of ending is not 100%. Just extend the game a little bit to get a natural ending to the game. It's also pretty obvious in most players, but our team this game. We overstayed, and that was where my one death came from. We overstayed our tempo extremely heavy. We shouldn't have. We should have all backed off, but I think I was just posturing a little bit too aggressive. So my team wanted to play aggro with me. Then I started back in, like, and it was just like a ping pong because of my posturing. So you gotta be the commander here on the tempo and command the tempo properly. This extending the game a little bit to get a natural close to the game is the smart thing to do. never gamble the flip of the game because then it's not gonna work. That's it. You probably, if you're like a high elo player, Masters Plus, this is probably all pretty obvious to you. But if you're like plat and below, you might learn something. So you should probably also do your own VOD reviews and have your own list like this because it's very helpful. Just read it right before you queue, during queue. Just read this shit. Pretty obvious mistakes you make. You might forget the mistakes you made in the previous game, and this is a good way of remembering that. So yeah, pretty basic stuff.